This is the podcast that we ask our guests from in front and behind the camera, how did they get their foot in the door? What was the key to unlocking their success? What's their story? Our guest is an American actor and musician whose career has spanned more than 4 decades. He first gained international recognition as a child, starring opposite Harrison Ford in the 1985 classic Witness, and has since been nominated for an Emmy and built an impressive body of work of films including Inception, The Revenant, First Man, Brick, and Mars Attacks, just to name a few. We chat about acting from the age of 5 years old, not knowing who Harrison Ford was, his advice to surviving the gaps between work and working with the greats. Our guest today is actor Lukas Haas. To go back to the start of your career and ask you like what that first moment was. I mean, when I do my homework, I look into these things and I never know what's true and what isn't. But is it true that you basically got found at kindergarten by a casting director, Marjorie
Yeah.
Simpkin?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. That's true. That is
When you
true.
were 5.
I was 5. I was 5 Yeah.
That's
Um,
wow.
yeah, the way it happened was so my mom, well, she had been an opera singer and really as when I was a young baby, she was and before that, she went to school for opera and she has this incredible voice. Um, and she'd come to LA and she started writing and she wrote a pilot for a TV show and it that the performance the recording of it was when I was 4 years old, but she brought me to it and I was in the audience watching all the actors, watching them perform, not knowing what was going on, right? At that age, I didn't even know what was happening. I was just like, whoa, it looked like a lot of fun. And it looked like something really special was going on. And the actors were laughing and having this like amazing time. So I looked at my mom and I'm like, Mom, what is that? Like, what are they doing? And then she's like, those are actors, they're acting. And then she explained the whole thing to me. And it just was this sort of spark that I can't even quite explain. But I was just from that second on, I was like, I'm gonna be an actor. That was just what I realized. It was like a realization. And then, honestly, I think I just kind of manifested it, which is crazy at that age, but I wouldn't go to school. I wouldn't go to kindergarten unless I was dressed in a costume. Um, and I mean, like straight up, I remember I was very, very like, I was dead set on it. And my parents, instead of making me feel like, a weirdo or something, they would just help me find my outfits. And, they were very sweet and supportive of me. Um, and, there was this one play. It was Cinderella, and I was one of the mice. And we didn't look like mice, so I was like freaking out. I didn't feel like I could like inhabit the character. So my mom went to the grocery store and got eggs, and she cut out this egg carton and put like glued little marbles. We did it together with string for the whiskers, and she made one for all three of me and my mice buddies. And so we put those things on, and then I felt much more comfortable. And then we had a parade down Wilshire Boulevard here in LA, and all the students had to make paper mache animals, and that was kind of the idea. And the one I made was a spider, and it fit on my back with the legs over the side. So the only way for me to make it like real and be a real spider was for me to crawl. So I crawled the whole entire way, and I was like lagging back, and I remember I was like my knees were starting to bleed, and I was all like but I was so committed to it I just I remember my parents trying to get me up, and I would literally get mad at them for trying to get me to get up, because it was just like I had to do it. Um, so yeah, so
Been
then
committed ever
casting,
since. That is it. The beginning. You've been
yeah,
committed since that point. That's crazy.
that's just how like
Yeah.
it was about playing characters that mattered to me. It's like something I just cared about. And then Marjorie came into the school and asked the teachers, "Who's is there a good actor in this school?" And they're like, "Yeah, that kid in the cowboy outfit right there is, he's your guy."
The guy in
And
costume.
yeah. And then they called my parents. By the way, I'd been begging my parents to be an actor already up until that point. And they were like, "No, no, 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 no. You can do it when you're older."
Hmm.
And I would get really upset about that because I wanted to do it now, but yeah, they weren't pushing me into it or anything like that. So it just when it came to them, and it was a really beautiful script, a really cool movie called Testament.
Mm-mm.
Um, they're artists, so if it had been some cornball kind of movie, they wouldn't have even told me about it. I don't think,
Yeah.
but it was like a really beautiful, sort of poignant film, and so they're like, you know what? He's like dying to do this. It came across, just came to us, and it's beautiful. Let's let him go on the audition. He probably won't get it, and that'll be it. But no, I got that, and then that led to Witness and everything else. So yeah,
Wow. It's incredible at such a young age. And I have to say, Witness is it's a film I really like vividly remember. What it was a film I definitely shouldn't have been watching. I don't know how old I was. But I watched it with my mum for the first time, and it's one of my favorite, 80s thrillers. It's such a classic. It's
yeah,
it's unique as well. I can't really think of another film quite like it.
I know it
Um,
really is unique. Yeah,
yeah, no, it's a brilliant, brilliant film. And do you, I mean, it's so long ago, like obviously you can watch the movie and you can see yourself in it, but do you remember the process of being on set? Is it a vivid memory for you being on set?
absolutely. Yeah, very vivid because it was I mean, it was such an intense moment, and it seemed like just all that stuff I was just talking about, this drive I had to become an actor, and it was all just coming to fruition. And in that moment, it felt like it had come to another level, obviously. And yeah, I didn't even know who Harrison Ford was. I was so young. I hadn't seen his
That's probably a good
movies.
thing, though.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you'd
yeah.
be like, oh.
um, yeah, exactly. So I just but I remember a lot of different moments throughout that time. I remember meeting Harrison and Peter in the trailer. I remember all the people around them. I remember when I watched the movie, I remember each scene. I remember what was going on behind the scenes. I remember where I stayed. I remember all that stuff, and I remember the feeling of it. I remember how it felt special, the way it looks, the way it still looks now. It felt like that while we were there. There was this sort of tangible, just thing that I don't even know what it was, but it was Peter, I think. Peter, and just the whole combination of everything. But Peter really had this, like, he would play music for me before scenes and stuff. Maurice Jarre, he'd already done some of the soundtrack, so he would put the headphones on my ears. And for example, when I'm walking through the train station,
Mm-mm.
he put the headphones on my ears, and then I sort of walked around before we filmed, and then they brought me back, and I was still listening, and then he took them off and goes, action. So I was in this zone, just at, as I was entering the scene. It was kind of magical. And um uh yeah, I mean, there are all kinds of moments that I remember. Actually, one funny thing is, I didn't know who Harrison was when I started the film, but about halfway through the film, he got a screening of Indiana Jones 2, and he invited me to come watch it in the theater. It was just me and him in the theater. I was sitting right next to him watching Indiana Jones 2. It was his first time seeing it and mine,
Wow.
obviously. And that's when I was looking at the screen going, looking at it and going like, oh, like, okay,
Yeah,
now I
wow.
know what
Wow. That
who
must
I'm
be
working
quite,
with.
because Temple of Doom's pretty terrifying as well.
Yeah, 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 it
It's
it is.
it's definitely the gnarliest out of the three. Or there's
Yeah.
five now, isn't there? I suppose, but
But
that's
I was already at that point, I already I understood how movies, worked.
sure.
So
In that film, the sort of I, I I say I don't want to give it away, but I think if people haven't seen it yet, they're probably not going to see it. I mean, it's a while ago
yeah,
now.
yeah.
The moment where you essentially witness something in the toilets. I'll keep it vague, and your reaction to it is so real. And I remember thinking at the time, because I would have been maybe a little bit older than that when I watched it, and I remember thinking how is like I understood that it was acting, and I was like, how is that? That's real. That's like they've actually done something to really like take your breath away. Can you remember how you got that performance? Was there any sort of, I don't know, like what was the
Yeah,
process
yeah.
there? Because
No,
it's an
you have
incredible
great
performance.
instincts. It's funny. You noticed like these little things because um yeah, I remember I was doing it, and I was being scared and all that. And Peter's like, no, no. And he was usually really supportive of everything I was doing because I feel like I was pretty on it. I was
Mm.
pretty in touch with what I was doing with that role. I mean, I even had a German accent and I was really, I was into it. Um, but in this instance, yeah, it was hard for me to get to that place that you're talking about. And so he at one point just goes, Lucas. He started yelling at me basically and going, "We've got to get this. You gotta get." He just like amped me up and got me like, and it just made me go, "Oh shit! I got, I gotta raise the level of this and really, really get into it." And yeah, that was what got me. All credit to Peter because that was how I got to that place. And afterwards, I remember he was like, "Go, great, great." And he's like, I'm sorry that I." And what was cool about him was he talked to me like a peer. A lot of people when you're that age sort of talk down to you. And I was pretty sharp, I guess, at my young age. I kind of developed early or something.
Mm.
So I understood how people communicated with me and stuff, and I wanted to be communicated with as a person, not as some kind of like little toy or something. So that really like resonated with me, and I really appreciated him speaking to me like a person. Um, and he's after that he was like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, like, no, 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 I understood as you were doing it what you were doing, and I appreciate it, like that it helped me get there. And um so yeah, he's just a brilliant director, and understood what he was looking for and understood how to get everyone there.
Yeah, man. What I mean, Peter Weir is incredible, and that film is incredible. It's iconic, and there's been so many, incredible roles that you've had along the way. Is there an advice that you would give to fellow actors, maybe struggling, maybe auditioning and not getting a job? Yeah, would you dare to give advice to those people listening to this?
The way I started, as we've spoken about, and also the time period that I started,
Hmm.
it was a totally different landscape and a totally different thing. But I will say that the one thing and that has been the through line in my career, and probably the reason that I'm still working today, um, and still working in high level, great things, is because of my dedication to what just I had a love for it. I had a genuine love for the craft, for the creativity, for stepping into a character and getting to explore that. That's the heart of it, and I think if you don't have that, if you don't have that genuine, like, if you're not drawn to like magnetism towards that thing, um, then maybe it's not for the right reasons or something. At least that would be the one sort of bottom line thing for me. That if you love it, if you're genuinely passionate about it,
Mm.
then you got to just do it and do it in every way that you can, and and it will kind of manifest itself. I mean, that was my experience. Um, so I think, yeah, I mean, I think if you love it, you'll figure out a way. If you genuinely love it, you'll figure out a way.
Man, I love it. It's really inspiring, genuinely, and Witness has been a film that has, it was one of the films that I watched young, and it inspired me, that performance, and all the things that you've done along the way. So I wanted to speak about, we haven't had time, but like Mars Attacks was another one that was
Oh
like,
yeah,
pinnacle. I love that film.
so fun,
Yes,
so fun.
so
Yeah.
good. And like, what, the cast is absolutely insane. Along the way though, you've worked with some of the absolute juggernauts, Christopher Nolan obviously, and
Yeah.
Inception, and it's just like, is there a, I mean, there must be so many moments, but a real kind of pinch yourself moment where you were like, how have I'm doing this, I'm living the dream, is there a kind of, yeah, a moment that springs to
It honestly, it happens kind of a lot as you're acting, because you're always, as you go, each time your career always feels kind of like it's about to, you know, fall off a cliff, maybe, because you just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm not some, mega star actor. I've been acting for a long time, but it doesn't, I'm not in that place where it's just like an automatic thing that I'm getting roles constantly. I mean, I guess it's been fairly, I'm established. So, but in some ways you feel like, you kind of keep working for it. And, but yes, that, like, for example, working with Damien Chazelle, I remember we were doing this in Babylon. We were doing this scene where um, the orchestra is playing on the hill, and we're watching the battle scene go on down there, down the bottom of the hill, and it was just extraordinary. I mean, the it was so authentic. All the sets were built. There were like thousands of extras down there, and they're battle uniforms, and we're up here at the top. Spike Jones is directing the scene in the film, and they're spinning the camera, and I'm sitting back there, and they got the orchestra going, all of this, like in real life. It was the orchestra's playing, and it was just like, oh my gosh, this is this is like movie making, and
Yeah.
how special, what a moment. um
I love that that's all in camera as well. I'm glad that you said that because, when you're watching it, it feels real and it looks great, and it feels like, an old school film where it is real. But I'm glad to say, yeah, hear you say that actually was genuinely happening, and it's not all CGI, and uh
Yeah, no, it was all real. It was all happening, and Damien is like just brilliant, and
Mm.
um one of my favorite directors, like Whiplash was one of my favorite films, and La La all of his films. Um
Mm.
but yeah, that, and even honestly, just like this show, we filmed it in all the studios. We got to film it in every studio, like Universal, Sony here, the old MGM, Warner Brothers. We had like sets on every back lot,
Mm.
and just that moment of, you go, you drive in, you go to your trailer, you get dressed, you're in costume, they knock on your door, and you're walking through the back lot, with the whatever, the Warner Brothers tower or whatever in the
Yeah.
background, and heading to the. It's that thing where you're like, oh my gosh,
It's
you don't
happening.
get to do that every day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I love
no
that.
matter who you are.
Now for a quick break. We'll be back to the episode shortly. If you enjoyed this episode and want to support us, get early access and exclusive content and episodes, click to join our YouTube channel and become a member now. please leave us a positive rating. Add us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at Life in Film Pod. Essentially, please like and subscribe everything. It makes a huge difference. Thank you. Life in Film has partnered with Betterhelp to provide you with access to the largest online therapy service in the world. And it can all be done from the comfort of your own home, from a phone, tablet, or laptop. No commute, cutting down travel costs, and most importantly, it's affordable. With over 1,000 therapists in the UK, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a wide variety of expertise in mental health. If you need someone to talk to and you're thinking of giving therapy a go, BetterHelp is a great option. And being a listener of the podcast, you get 10% off. That's 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/lifeandfilm. That's betterhelp.com/lifeandfilm. We are sponsored by movieposters.com. Are you a movie fan? I presume you are. Well, at movieposters.com, you can shop for all your favorite posters in one place. The #1 source for high quality, authentic movie posters. From new releases to cult classics and 100% authentic originals. Thinking of having a browse? Well, if you see a poster that tickles your fancy, as a listener of the podcast, you get 10% off. That's 10% off with promo code LifeandFilm10. That's promo code LifeandFilm10. So why not give it a go? And back to the show. SpiderNoir, what a wicked series to be a part of. I mean, you've had a long career and done some amazing roles, but this is it seems particularly special. How did you get involved with it? What was it that attracted you to this role?
Yeah, I mean, very special. You're right, and it's funny because when you work for a long, especially well, I guess at any point in an actor's career, you just don't know what's going to happen, right? You never know what direction your career is going to necessarily go in, or if you're going to get any work, you know.
Yeah.
So um, it's always like a real blessing when you get something, this special. It's like hell yeah, thank you, Lord. But
Doing something like Spider Noir, did it feel different? I mean, it's you've done a lot of TV series and everything else. I just love that this show is it's black and white. It's got some real panache to it. It's very stylish.
absolutely, yeah.
Did it feel special when you were shooting it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And to answer your earlier question, the way I got it was just a straight up, audition, self tape. So I did a self tape, sent it in, and got it, and yeah, it was definitely incredible. You come on to just actually the whole process. You go to wardrobe and you do a fitting, and that's when you get your first little taste, right?
Yeah.
Because it's the first time they need to do that way ahead of time to make all the costumes and everything. So you're trying everything on, and you're starting to get a little sense of what this guy's going to look like, what your character's going to look like, and the costumes obviously were so cool. They're really extreme, those big angular suits and the hats and you see everybody else's costumes too as you're walking in. So you kind of get like your first little sense of what the whole show is going to be like. But um yeah, it's that the cool thing too is how like authentically they dove into the real noir thing, which is, I mean, rare. I haven't actually. I've done a few noirish things. Like I did a movie called Brick that was based on noir, and there was some really. They used a lot of that, that like strong lighting and long shadows and the angles and everything. But this was like straight up like authentic, as authentic as more can get now, I think, um and I remember the first time I stepped off set to go look at playback, and playback was it was on the screen. It was black and white and had that magic and looked like I was back in time, when when
Yeah.
I saw it. I'm like, whoa, I look like I'm back in the 1940s,
Yeah.
and I've never had that experience on all the films I've made. I've never like gone back to playback and seen it look quite like that, where it really looked like I had gone back. I was in a different era. Um, so yeah, it was obviously super special and cool.
I
Yeah.
love that, yeah, the choice for it. Obviously, it was a choice from the beginning then to be black and white, and that was going to be the look. And it's quite funny how, Amazon Prime have got it where you can choose if you want color or black and white. I was like,
Yeah.
gotta watch it in black and white. It feels like this is what it was made for. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's a great looking show, and it does feel pretty unique in that way. Like that noir, like it's a lot of fun. In terms of your character, I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it almost feels like your performance is fantastic, and it
Thank
almost
you.
feels like you're kind of doing a different style of acting to what I've seen you do before. I've seen a lot of your films and shows. It feels like you're kind of casting back to a different time, almost like the rhythm of the way that you speak. I don't know how to explain it, but it feels like a performance that is from that era. Do you know what I
That's
mean? Am
cool.
I
Yeah.
talking? I don't know if I.
No, 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 no. That's accurate, actually. In fact, you picked up on something, um, because I went through a bunch of old noir films, as I was preparing, and one thing that I noticed was how melodically they speak, the actors at that time, um, and I think now, in terms of, generally, as we talk to each other, you kind of talk in some kind of monotone, or maybe not quite, but you're using some inflections. We're all using inflections, but not like they were back then, in those films. Back then they were like, well, I'll see what I'm gonna do. And, it's all
Yeah.
this very melodic way of talking, and so um that was something that I was like, well, I got to do that. I gotta really, make a concerted effort to be as melodic as I can, because it's not always that easy to make yourself talk like that. You have to keep it on the front of your mind, and you have to kind of really uh practice it, and make sure it's there. So yeah, I did a lot of sort of vocalizing it on my own, and
Yeah.
trying to come up with melody for the way I would say the lines and stuff. So I think it really did sort of help um make it feel more noir in that way, you
Yeah,
know?
100%.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you get to, I mean, you shared the screen with some titans in your time, and in this, even in this, like Brendan Gleeson, obviously Nicolas
Oh
Cage,
yeah.
both fantastic actors. You did be doing this a long time, you've been around the block. Do you ever still, when you get to work with someone for the first time, do you ever is there any nerves there, or is it, you're going to work, this is your thing, like you've been doing it for so long? Do you ever get intimidated by, the moment?
So absolutely.
Okay, good.
100%. 100%. In fact, because what acting, obviously, too, it's not like you're acting every day.
Mhm.
Maybe I should be doing a little more, um going to study and stuff, but just to keep your engine warm. But um I take sometimes months off, maybe even a year, or a year sometimes. Um so you're kind of cold when you come back into it, and there's also, it's a sensitive kind of a job. You're the spotlight's on you, and you got to perform. And even though it's something that I've done since I was a kid, and it's something that's comfortable for me in a certain sense, um and in fact, it can when it's great, it can edge over into this feeling of excitement, and like
Mhm.
like be really thrilling and fun and playful, and that's when it gets good. That's when it gets really good. And that's how this ended up feeling, this show for me. But like, I got to play with it a lot, which was great. And it also gives you a lot of confidence when you're feeling that way.
Yeah.
Um but and confidence is key, I think. But for sure, in fact, my first scene with Nick, I was like, yeah, I was shaking in my boots. I'd never really even met him before, so it was just kind of, you're just there, and also you're going toe to toe with him. And it's not like he's my buddy in the scene, you know. I'm like, it's like Nick Cage staring at me, like staring me down, like he wants to kill me, you know, and me trying to stare him down like I want to kill him. So yeah, you know, it's not just like, it's
Yeah.
not just like it happens like that. But as soon as you get into it first, you know, it takes me a second, but once you start bouncing off each other and seeing how you're going to work together and getting that little spark going, then it starts getting exciting, and that's when all those nerves go away, and it just becomes playful and fun, you know.
Oh, I love that, man. I love that.
Yeah,
I can just imagine
yeah.
the being on set and having that moment with Nicolas Cage. It must be hard to be like, hang on, I'm not watching TV. I'm actually, I need to like lock in here. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I
Well,
love
and
that.
Brendan actually, like the scenes with Brendan. Now he is, well, both of them are, but he's particularly warm and
Mm.
lovely and loves to chat and just makes you feel so at home. Um, and he, as opposed to Nick's role, he was like on my side, right? And it's funny how that stuff matters in that, like those dynamics kind of matter, you know. Him being my friend made it a little less nerve-wracking.
Yeah,
If you know, we're like a team.
yeah,
um Whereas Nick being my foe made it, you know,
yeah.
less so. So yeah.
Yeah, and you've got
But
to be intimidating as well. So it's kind of, yeah, this is it's a tricky one. But yeah, I
yeah,
love the show, man, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm halfway through, and I don't want to say too much because like I don't want to give anything away, but
yeah.
it's a lot of fun, man, and it's a great role. You know, you've had a great career so far, and I'm sure there's plenty more to come. And yeah, it's inspiring, man. So thank you so much for taking the time, and
Thank you.
really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to watching the rest of the show. But
It's great. It's so good. It gets better and better. Honestly, it's really good.
Brilliant. Looking forward to it, man. Thanks so much. And
Thank you.
all the best with whatever comes next. And well, I did see that you're working with, or you've worked, probably shot it already with Nicolas Cage again for
Yeah,
a
and
film.
that
So I'm
movie's
excited
great
for that
too.
too. Yeah.
Fortitude's very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and
Well, it
great
looks like it's
questions.
going well and you'll keep going. So
Yeah.
keep it up, man.
Yeah.
I'll always be watching
Thank
it.
you.
So cheers, man. Take care.
Cheers. Have a
Cheers.
good one.
If you enjoyed this episode and you want to support us, get early access and exclusive content, all ad-free, click and join the Life in Film YouTube channel and become a member now. Thank you to our guest Lucas, and thank you to Laura and the team at Advantage PR. As always, thank you to our sponsors, Betterhelp and movieposters.com.